My name is Jason.
My name is Tom.
And this is a comic strip AP of Monster of the Week, featuring the story of Robert Larousse. And when we last saw Robert, he was confronting the monster, the goat-headed demon monster. You had planted a bunch of little mirrors around the room, or in one particular corner of the room, and you were hoping to kind of give chase to the creature and then let it see the mirrors and be stunned. But what ended up happening, in fact, was the creature kind of snuck up behind you. And so now it's kind of you in between the mirrors and the creature, like in this very sort of immediate way. And also, just one other reminder, you've been betrayed by Anastasia Marcos.
Yeah.
And it seems that she was even like putting on an accent the whole time she worked with you, right? So, which is like really sad. If you can, just to be so duplicitous. So, what do you do?
As it happens, I've been in exactly this situation before. Although at that time my enemy was all too human. And nevertheless, what worked then seems like as good a gambit as any. So I fling myself away from the creature to the floor and roll over one shoulder and unload my revolver into it as I turn.
Nice. I assume you're not trying to kill it here. You're trying to somehow draw it into the mirrors. Is that what's going on here, sort of in terms of outcomes?
I mean, if the harm from a simple, quite small revolver will kill it, I'll be quite happy to do that and proceed from there. But my estimation is that it's going to take a little more than that.
Yeah, I think this is more of an act under pressure then, I think. So let's have that move. Roll plus cool.
11 plus 1, that is a 12.
Nice. Very good. So I think with this maneuver, I'll let you just get the creature into the position that you need him to be in to see the mirrors. What does that look like?
For all my cool cat-like grace and maneuverings physically, on the inside I'm just going, as I fire slightly too many bullets at this thing, and I clearly hit the creature, and it wears those sort of robes, the bullets go in there, but whether it's actually causing any kind of injury is impossible to tell. It's also quite hard to read the expression on a smooth, silken-haired goat face, but its body language suggests rage, wounded pride perhaps, and it gives chase even as I scramble up from the floor and I head back towards, those mirrors that I planted in that particular area. And so I go into that outer circle of slightly darkened archways and I duck to the right. And as the creature arrives behind me, it looks left and right for me and then sees something, and what it sees is itself.
And as soon as it sees its reflection in these small mirrors, it flings its head back as if someone had shocked it or punched it in the jaw, right? And it just lets out this like long, terrible bleating sound, just manic and frenzied and in pain, like and as that's happening, it's clearly like in some sort of pain and like clutching at its face, and it's freaking out. I think you have a moment to act here. What do you do?
I have a knife in my hand. It isn't shiny. It looks like the kind of thing that you give to someone who works behind enemy lines. It's pretty old by now, but I keep it sharp. And with a motion that the neutral observer might think of as perhaps too practiced, I step up behind it as it has its head flung back, and I draw the blade across its throat.
Nice. And it clutches at its throat. There is a foul-smelling black blood just pumping out in great gushes, getting all over your hands, getting all over your clothes. and it slumps down to the ground, flailing around. How are you going to complete this ritual? What does it look like?
Now begins the messy work of disemboweling a demon.
Indeed, and I think you've got just like a bit of time to act here. I think an act under pressure is appropriate to like kind of finish the job and be done with it before more people come down to confront you or whatever, right? Just give me the lead up though. Like, what does it look like?
So yeah, this is a messy, done very quick job. There's a lot of digging blades into the abdomen, I suppose, and then there's a lot of yanking and tearing and unpleasant grisly noises, and before you know it, there's bits of blackish blood and sticky stuff all over the floor and gore and...
Yeah, I think it's not even normal viscera. Like, as you split him open, it looks like a spaghetti squash, but perfectly inky and black. Right. Just tendrils of thick, tubey, strange fibers. Like,
yeah, nothing you can identify as an organ. And
exactly right. Yeah. Almost more like a worm's body or insectoid, right? It's more like fibrous and liquidy rather than like discernible organs. It's flailing around. It's kind of clutching at its throat. It's still kind of focused on that, and it's just making these like gasping sounds, like just these half bleat, half gasps, just kind of like.
The tricky part here is that as long as I'm kind of sitting on top of it and I've got a hand on its chest, it's not moving. But my bag is just a little bit out of reach. That's got the silver and the salt in it, right? So I'm going to have to let go just for a moment to grab it.
Give me an act under pressure to wrap up this ritual.
9. Oh, but +1 is 10.
Very good. Go ahead and just describe the creature being banished from this plane of existence.
So at the moment that I place that little silver statue, I say place, more like plunge.
Jam.
Yeah, But at the moment I jam that silver statuette into the salt bed that I've already made inside its gut. I guess what would be its guts, but it doesn't really have any. There's a tremor and a shake all throughout the room, and I think it's my vision going weird at first, but I realise this is actually something that's permeating the whole room. It's as if someone had transposed kind of multicoloured, that slit scan camera thing from the 60s.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Blazing yellow and red and going weird and vibrating, and there's this howling just that permeates my head roughly around the area of the temples, and the creature seems to start to sink into the warping stone of the floor and sink and sink, and so the floor starts to warp, it starts to sink into it, and then with a last crescendo of symbols it's gone, and there's just this weird blurred burned in outline left in the floor.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and epilogue. Take us as far in the future as you wish, Robert. Set the scene. Tell us where we find you, what you're doing, what we see.
It's a hotel lobby, a kind of big, airy, colonial-style hotel lobby, and I am sitting in that the waiting area where you can have tea or drinks or whatever. I'm reading a newspaper. The headline says "Last week of Federation." I'm just waiting for someone to come in, but then one of the staff comes over and just says, "I'm afraid she's not in at the moment. Would you like to leave a message?" And I say, certainly. I take a notepad and I write something and I hand it back to him, and then I go out of the hotel. And then later we see coming into the hotel none other than Anastasia Marcos. She's not noticeably older, but you can tell it's later because she's now wearing the fashions of the early 60s. What is she wearing, actually?
If she's wearing the fashion of the early 60s, I think she's going for sort of a mod thing, right? Is that early 60s? I'm not sure. But I think if it's not, she's on the cutting edge of fashion. Sort of a vinylish looking skirt with big color blocks, bob haircut, that kind of thing.
Well, she certainly stands out here because it's all still a bit kind of 1920s and ethnic Chinese serving staff in pressed uniforms and so on. And the same staff member from before comes over and says, "Miss Marcos, there's a message left for you." And she looks at the pad and we see that it says only 3 words above the initials RL. Ci vediamo presto.
Awesome. Let's do our end of session really quickly. Mm-hmm. So we answer some questions here. I will ask them and you just give me yeses or nos. Okay. Did we conclude the current mystery?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. Did we save someone from certain death or worse? I would say so.
Probably, yes, yeah.
Cindy, right? Who you never got her real name, which I think is interesting. Did we learn something new and important about the world? Yeah, I think Anastasia probably is the biggest thing there, right? And then, did we learn something new about you?
I think it was only heavily implied rather than actually learnt. I don't know.
Which was?
That Robert was involved in some kind of resistance movement during the war. Thank you.
Indeed. Well, you got at least 2 yeses, so you get to mark 2 more experience. Or no, sorry, you got all 4 yeses, so you get to mark 2 experience.
Okay.
And that concludes Monster of the Week, the Lombardi School. Tom, this was super fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's been very enjoyable indeed.
Listeners, I hope you enjoyed it. Hi, this is Jason from The Gauntlet. If you enjoyed this episode of Comic Strip AP, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We have many other Comic Strip AP shows available, each organized in their own sequential playlist for easy listening. Just go to youtube.com and search for Gauntlet RPG.